Novocaine is a new action comedy starring Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid plays this guy, Nathan Kane. He seems like your normal, everyday, average Joe. He works at a bank, he lives in an apartment, he spends his free time online gaming with a friend. But he's got this one little condition about himself. He cannot feel any pain whatsoever. It's a condition he's had his entire life. He's never felt it. He doesn't know what pain is. He doesn't understand it. One day his bank hires this new girl, that's played by Amber Midthumber. The two of them go on a date. They really hit it off. He starts to fall for her. Only for her to be taken hostage by a group of bank robbers, and now he's gonna go out and try to save her. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I was immediately hooked into it because the premise of this movie is really smart. And you take this guy, he has no experience of fighting or being a hero or anything like that, but he's a guy who can't feel any pain, which I've actually always known to be a condition that certain people have. It's a rare condition. Like, I have always known for this to be a real legitimate condition. This isn't just something that the movie made up. But part of me did think to myself, I'm like, why didn't they ever make a movie like that? Why didn't they ever make a quote-unquote superhero like that? So the fact that this movie finally went with a premise like that, it made me undeniably excited for it. And the trailer just looked like it was going to be good fun. And yeah, the premise of a guy who can't feel any pain and has to go out to rescue his girlfriend, they pretty much nailed this premise. I thought this movie really worked. For starters, Jack Quaid, honestly, he's starting to become one of the more likable people in Hollywood right now. Just the characters he plays, typically anyway. He seems like a really endearing, just sweet guy. You want to root for him, you're pulling for him. Like when he meets this girl, you're rooting for their relationship. When she gets taken, you are pulling for him to go after her. Like there's nothing about the character of Nathan Kane that doesn't make you root for him. And that's credit that goes to Jack Quaid's performance. And what I like about his character is it's not like he's someone who has like any gift in being a superhero or anything like that. I mean, they joke with him, like the girl makes jokes like, oh my god, you're a fucking superhero. It's like, I'm really not. And yeah, he clearly is not. He's never rescued anybody before. He's never been in a serious fight with anyone before. I mean, he's just lived his life with his condition. But something happens to someone he cares about, now he's gonna step up and be that hero. I like seeing that. It's a very solid underdog story in here, and we all love a good underdog story. Also, what I really like with the character of Nathan Kane is how he explained his condition to people. Because yeah, you hear the idea of someone who can't feel pain, it sounds awesome, it sounds cool, but he does a really good job explaining why his condition is such a problem. Like, he can't eat solid food because he has the fear that he'll bite his tongue and he could bleed out and not know it. Or they have this other little trick, like he has like little tennis balls covering like the corners of death so he doesn't like impale himself or anything like that. Like, he's gonna wear like one of those watches that monitors like his heart rate, his body temperature and everything, and like, you know, lets him know when it's time to go to the bathroom even. Shows like, you know, everyone thinks this power is such a blessing, but for him, he kind of sees it a little bit as a curse. Also, yeah, Amber Midthunder's character, I liked her in this movie. Initially, you know, she has that chemistry with Nathan Kane. You know, you do see a little bit of a romance building between them. I mean, it all kind of starts off one first date, but there is clear chemistry between the two of them. And it is a little bit in that sense of like the two kind of like, you know, balance each other a little bit, or maybe not necessarily that, but she's exactly, you kind of feel like what he needs a little bit. Like, he's always been a little more introverted, he doesn't have a whole lot of friends, he doesn't have a very big social life. She's someone who wants to understand his condition, wants to bring him out of his shell, wants him to live his life as normally as he can without being afraid that he's gonna do something that will really hurt himself without him knowing. It all makes sense so that when she gets taken away by these bank robbers, it does make sense exactly why he's going after her. Also, yeah, how's the action in this movie? I thought the action was really fun. Because what makes the action in this movie so entertaining is like, this isn't like John Wick where guys are just beating the shit out of each other. At least not necessarily anyway. Like, in this case, you have this guy, he's going after these bank robbers who are more experienced in fighting and killing than he obviously is. But the way the fights go down, it's ultimately Nathan Kane just surviving the hits that he's taking, just basically walking everything off that's coming his way, while the other guys, when anything happens to them, they feel it. It makes the fights fun, but it also makes them really funny and just all around entertaining more because of that. Not even just that, but there are some hits and there's some imagery in this movie that does make you cringe a little bit because you feel it. You're just like, oh man, that must fucking hurt. But for someone like Nathan Kane, it's nothing. The movie gets to push it a little bit more with, I want to say, not necessarily body horror necessarily, but just seeing some of the hits people take and the damage that happens to them. They push a little bit in the envelope, and I appreciate that. But what I like is the characters, or at least in the character of Nathan Cain, he plays it off like it's nothing. And then the people who just see him going through what he's dealing with, that don't understand what he has, just look at him like he's nuts. It just led to a lot of moments that legitimately had me laughing in this movie. And I will say, there are moments where the movie does undeniably teeter a little bit towards the superhero genre, because once Nathan Cain realizes he has to fight his way to saving his girl, I mean, he does have to improvise in terms of taking certain people out a little bit. Like for himself, he's like, all right, I can't feel pain, but these people can, so I need to find things around here that might affect me physically, but I'm not gonna feel it. These people, if I use what I do to myself against these people, they're going to feel it. Again, it's just a clever, unique sort of fighting style that they put into this movie, they put into this character, that's going to make Nathan Cain memorable. I love that. Getting into a couple of issues that I did have with this movie, there is a twist that the movie tries to pull with one of these characters that's meant to be like a holy shit moment to the audience, and maybe initially it is, but then the movie just kind of carries on with how you always felt it was gonna go. And I'm trying to be really vague here, but it makes me go back to the twist that they try to throw onto the audience, and made me think to myself, I think they should have just done away with that twist and just let the movie play out how we all believed it was gonna play out. Because sure, maybe if the movie played out exactly how we thought it would seem a little cliche and simple and, you know, a story we've seen a million times over, like, you know, a cliche superhero story, if you will. But you know what? I would have been fine with that. It would have felt old-fashioned, sure, but I love me a little old-fashioned, especially in this day and age. Sometimes old-fashioned can be a good thing. I think that got away from the movie a little bit. Also, in terms of the final act of this movie, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say the final act was underwhelming a little bit, but I will say this much, part of me wishes the final act of this movie went a little bit further. Because as I mentioned, throughout the movie we get some really solid action, some fun fight scenes that lead to moments of comedy even. Like, you know, the running joke with Nathan Cain, or Novocaine as he's been called, is that he's a superhero. And part of me kind of wishes they teetered a little bit more to that in the final act. Like really give us a grand finale, superhero-esque kind of finale in this movie that I really think would have knocked it out of the park. Like you could have done something where, you know, Nathan Cain's just going through, just taking down the bad guys, and he's taking just unfathomable damage to his body, but he just walks through it like an absolute badass, like it doesn't even faze him. I'm not saying that he doesn't do that in the final act of this movie, but I really feel like they could have gone to the extreme with it. If they had, I thought it would have been fucking awesome. They held back a little bit. I get it, maybe it was to make it seem realistic, but I still think they could have made it realistic and just made it a little more hardcore in the end, if you understand what I'm getting at. So all in all, I had a blast with Novocaine. Jack Quaid absolutely slays it in this role. He's likable, he's funny, he's that underdog that you're rooting for. I bought into the chemistry between him and Amber Midthunder. It completely made sense why he was going after this girl, why he wanted to save her. It had some fun action. I thought the comedic timing in this movie was very well done. There were moments I was laughing, there were moments I was cringing from feeling pain that the main character couldn't. It's just that bloody good time action that you would go into this movie hoping for. The movie tried to throw you for a couple twists and turns. I don't think it really needed to. I wish the final act was a little more hardcore and a little more, dare I even say, over the top than we got. Just a little bit. But in the end, I pretty much got exactly what I was hoping for when I went into this movie. So for all that, I'm going to give Novocaine a 7 out of 10, which makes this movie absolutely worth going to the movies for.
All right, come on, hurry up, Brian. I don't want to miss the movie trivia slides before the movie.
Seems like a really solid date movie. So yeah, take your significant other, go out, enjoy it. You got action, comedy, romance, something for everybody here. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. And as always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.